How's it going, everybody? Could somebody chime in and tell me if you can hear me and all that kind of stuff? I'd appreciate it. Make sure that everything's up and running. All right, well, I'm just going to assume then that everything's working. Anyway, thank you for coming out tonight, and we're going to do a little something different. Instead of doing, learn some licks or a song or something like that, we're going to do a little basic maintenance on your guitar. So I remember when I first started, if I'd break a string, I'd go buy one string and replace it. And it took me forever. I mean, it literally was like an hour-long job for me to try to put on a string. There was no tutorials or anything like that. And then I ended up getting the opportunity. I was, I don't know, probably about 14 years old, and there was a local music store, just a ma and pa place, and I was taking lessons there. And I started just going in on Saturdays, and I'd kind of sweep the place and stuff like that. And the guy showed me how to do a lot of stuff, taught me how to do a lot of basic, repairs and maintenance and stuff on the guitar. So that's what I want to do, is help you guys out with that. So the guitar that I've chosen is this is my living room guitar. This is just a guitar that I have sitting by the couch, so I can just reach over and pick it up. And it is disgusting. It is so filthy dirty, and the strings have been on here for, God only knows how long, and he's not quite sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace these strings. We're going to clean it up, make some, adjustments and things like that, and check the intonation. So I'm going to show you how to do all of those things. So first, let's just go over some of the, come on, stay there. Some of the, oh, for crying out loud, some of the things that you're going to need to do this with. So this is just, not necessarily in any order. One, a set of strings. Just some kind of a rag. I just use this is an old wife beater. I just use that. A polishing cloth. Now, it doesn't need to be a fancy one like this. You can literally go, to Walmart and buy some microfiber towels and just use that. This was a gift. I would have never, I can imagine that because it says Fender on it, that's probably a lot more money than, a microfiber towel from Walmart. You're going to need some various screwdrivers, different sizes, for the different stuff. So I've got a large flathead and a large Phillips, and a small Phillips and a small flathead. This one is optional. This is just a little pair of needle nose pliers. This is an optional thing, and I'll show you what something that I do that I don't think is typically done. A 10 millimeter open end wrench, a string winder, and a cutter. So this is the one that I use. I think it's a Planet Waves. Yeah, it's a Planet Waves, and it's got the winder, and then the handle has the string cutter built into it. So this is really handy. So I cannot stress enough how much you want to get one of these. Not necessarily one with the string cutter. You can, the last time I was in Guitar Center, which was probably 2 years ago, there was it looked like a fishbowl on the counter, and it had a whole bunch of string winders in it, but they weren't fancy like this. It was just the winder, and they were only $3 or something like that. It's well worth it to get one of these things, because if you're trying to wind the strings on just by hand, it's going to take forever, and it's really hard to get it tight. This makes life so much easier. Let's see. Some kind of guitar cleaner polish. And then here's another optional one. Well, I'm not going to say it's optional, but it isn't something that I do every time. And this is just a fingerboard conditioner. This particular stuff that I really like. I can't read the brand because Gear. I think it says Gear Sluts. I've got to be reading that wrong. There's no way that's what it's called. But anyway, it's just called Fretboard Honey, and I'll show you how to use this stuff. But it isn't something you need to do all the time. I usually do this like once a year, unless it's a guitar that I play all the time. Like if I'm playing a lot of shows and I'm playing a guitar a lot and it gets really gets used a lot, then I'll use this. And then you're also going to want to have a can of cherry Dr. Pepper and a bag of flaming hot Cheetos. Those things are a must. Oh, and a tuner. So this is just like a little clip-on tuner. I typically do not use these for when I'm setting intonation. I actually use this. This is I've had this thing since I was about 12 or 13 years old. It's an analog, quartz analog tuner. So it's for really getting it precise. That's the way to go. But, just the clip-on tuner will work for what we're doing today. So without any further ado, let's get to it. And I'm hoping that you're going to be able to see everything. I'm going to play around with, I have an app on here that's supposed to like move the camera around and zoom in and stuff. So we'll see how that works. Now, before we get going with it, does anybody have any questions about anything so far? So that's the other thing that's good. It's a guitar player's fidget spinner. All right, so I guess there's no questions. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the strings. Now, if you've never changed strings before, or you've only done it a handful of times and you're not fast at it, don't take all of the strings off. It's not really a good idea to remove all of the strings and leave them all off for an extended period of time. So if it's a thing that it's going to like take you, a couple of hours to change your strings, which might sound like kind of far-fetched that it would take that long, but it can if you're new, and there's no shame in that. It just, we all have to learn. But if you're not really quick at it, just change them one string at a time. So that way, you're not, because what it is the strings are trying to pull the neck this way, and then the truss rod is pulling it back the other way. So it's like a tug of war. So if you take off all of the strings, the truss rod's just, pulling the neck back, and it can cause some issues. But I'm going to go ahead and replace all of the strings at one time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen the low E. Now, you could go through and just cut them all off and stuff. This really doesn't take that long, and I just feel like it's better so you're not, putting so much stress on the guitar. All right, so I got it out on that end. Now, depending upon what kind of a bridge you have, this is a string-through body bridge, so that you actually feed the strings in through the back, and a lot of guitars are like this. If you've got like a Les Paul, if you remove all of the strings, the bridge is actually held on by the tension of the string, so it will just fall off. And then this doesn't even have this is a string through, but it's got the same kind of a saddle that a Les Paul has. If you take all the strings off, this just lifts off, not being held on by anything but the string tension. So you just want to be careful of that if you take them all off, just pay attention when you first take it apart as to the orientation of it. You don't want to put it on the opposite way, because that will completely, your intonation will be way off. So just make sure you put it on the same way. Now, when you go to pull the string out through the body, regardless if it's like a Les Paul where it's going to come out this way, or in this case it's going through the body, trying to pull the string through with, this curvy end on there, it's not very easy. It'll get kind of jammed. So it makes it a lot easier if you once you force the string through here, is just cut it off and then pull it out. So that way you're not trying to, drag this through there. So go ahead, open up the string cutter here. And I'm just going to cut after the curve off. And then pull the string the rest of the way through. Now, it's funny, I cut that end off and then I yanked the string through the other way. That made a lot of sense. All right. So if you were just going to do this one string at a time, and you still wanted to clean your fretboard and everything, then what you can do is, while we got the one string off, you can kind of hold the other ones out of the way and kind of clean this side of the fretboard, and then just kind of work your way through it. It is a lot easier, and it's easier to do a thorough job if everything's completely off. But again, just, wait till you can do it fairly quick before you do that. Oh, and also with string winders, I forgot to mention, they've got ones you can get that are like powered. It's like a little hold thing in your hand, pull a trigger, and the thing just spins. Those can be nice, especially if you're doing like a lot, like if you were, you have 5 guitars and you're going to change all the strings in one day, then yeah, it would speed things up. But if you use one of those when you're putting it back on, be careful, because it's really easy to because it goes fast, to end up breaking a string when you're winding it on. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and loosen the rest of these. Let's have a roll call. Where are we all at tonight? For those of you that are been here in the past, you know that I'm in Utah, freezing my keister off right now. Where are you watching me from tonight? Another thing too, on this string winder, the cheap ones, I've got one of the cheap ones. Let me grab it if I can find it. Okay, so here's like one of the cheaper winders. Now, as you can see on the part that goes over the tuning head, on this one, it's just one thing, but on this one, it's got 2 different cavities. So that way you can, to make it fit tighter. If I'm using the cheap one, when I put it over the tuner, it just fits really sloppy. But this will fit, this is designed this way, so it's got a little notch in it here too. So even if you were going to do it like on a bigger tuner, if you had, like on a bass guitar or something, it would still fit. And then that little notch is also for pulling the pin out of the bridge on an acoustic guitar. If you guys like this, then maybe we'll do this again, but on an acoustic guitar. But with this one, what I like about it is that the one side is smaller than the other, so it'll fit on this particular tuner. If I put it on the wide one, it's loose, but if I put it on the narrow one, it fits very tight, so it's very responsive in the turn. Let's see, Chicago, Central Florida, 85 degrees. Yeah, must be terrible, because it's like it's probably about 30 degrees here. It's cold. Okay. Oh, what kind of a guitar is that? This is a Spear Gladius. So that other guitar that I normally use when it's like all looks like it's all scratched up, it's the same model. Well, it's the same shape, but it's actually different. That guitar is made out of mahogany, and this one's made out of maple. This guitar is like way heavier, and that's why this is my living room guitar. It's too. Uh, when I play live, I have to use really light guitars because I have a bad back, and this thing weighs a ton, so it just kills me to play it for a long time. Oh, I still didn't get that one loose enough. And we're a quiet bunch. Talk to me. Let's not have dead air. Give me something to talk about besides, with what I'm doing. All right, so I got them all of the strings off. Now I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, you just kind of push them through. Now, if the strings have been on for a really long time, sometimes the little ball end will actually seize in there. If you get one that you can't get out, then you can just take a like if you have like a really skinny like jeweler's screwdriver, that's usually what I use. You can put it down through the hole here and knock it out. But these ones, they're not. They've been on here a long time, but they've been on here that long. All right, so now I've got all the strings pulled out through the back here. So I am going to cut all of them in one shot. Just like that. So now here's the ball ends. And then pulled the rest of the strings through. And I always do this. I always kind of wind them up just so they don't take up so much space in the garbage. All right. So now I got all the strings off. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to take that 10 millimeter wrench and it's the same hex size that's on here. So what will happen is these things will kind of get loose over time, because of the wood expanding and contracting and stuff. So you don't want to put it on there. You don't want to crank it down tight, but you want to have it so it's snug, just a little bit snug. So that way they don't slip, because that can cause problems with the guitar staying in tune. You don't want to over tighten it, because if you tighten it too much, you can crack the face of your headstock. Did I get this one? Yeah. All right. So I know those are secure. Now you can grab your tuner without there being the tension of the string and just kind of turn it to see how it feels. There should be a little bit of resistance. It shouldn't be hard to turn, but it shouldn't feel all. If it feels like really super loose, or you can actually wiggle it. Yeah, that one's a little loose. That one's definitely loose. All right, so my G and D strings are both, the D is not bad, but the G string is incredibly loose. This one I can actually wiggle it. So now what I'm going to do, take the Phillips screwdriver, and you want to hold onto the tuner with your other hand so it doesn't turn. Get on that screw. Help if I could see. I should have brought my other glasses down. And just, you're not tightening it down like you're trying to hold it on there. What we're doing is we're taking the lash out of it, the slack. So we're just going to just give it just a little bit. That feels much, much better. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Oh, for crying out loud. All right, so now they all feel really good. Another thing you can check too is the little set screw here on the back. They generally don't. The only time I've ever really seen those be loose is actually on a new guitar. And I don't know if it was because it got missed in assembly or a lot of times what happens if the guitars are manufactured overseas, when they come back, when they get shipped over here, like these guitars come from South Korea. So they, come over literally on a boat, in a shipping container, and changing temperatures and humidity and stuff. So sometimes it causes these things to be loose. So you can just go in and just check this. You just want to just kind of snug it. They're very tiny screws. If you put too much force on it, you'll break the head off, and then it's really fun to try to get it out of the guitar. Been there, done that. All right, these are actually a little bit loose. I'm surprised, but then again, this guitar is kind of it's a little bit neglected. All right. Let's see, Massachusetts. Hi, Warren. God, sorry, man. I really should have brought my other glasses on. I can't see. Should I change my strings on a new guitar? Well, that kind of depends. These, like I was talking about, these guitars coming over. I used to be the QC guy for Spirit Guitar, because their distribution warehouse for the United States is right here in my town, or it was. And so anyhow, I'd have to, set them up, and I had to replace the strings on probably about 50% of them, because not that they were bad strings, they used Diodarios, but it just, from the moisture and everything, they'd be rusty sometimes. So, if you get a new guitar and you play it and it just it has, how strings sound when they get old, they start to sound like they're a flat wound string, very kind of a dead sound. If it's got a really dead sound on it, then yeah, you probably want to change the strings, or if they're rusty, or if you are, if you use a particular, you really like a particular brand or a particular gauge. The strings that I'm putting on this guitar, I'm just using strings that I had here. These are not strings that I normally use. These are, they're DR brand Quantum Nickel, and it probably says something underneath, but I got them at Guitar Center in a clearance bin a couple of years ago. They were only like $3, and I bought a couple of sets of them just because sometimes, like in a lesson, a student's string will break or something like that. Normally I use Diodario. So these here are a 9 through 42. I normally use a hybrid set, so it's 9 through 46 on my guitars that I play live with. If they're a long scale neck like this, then I use 9 through 46. If it's a shorter scale guitar like a Les Paul, I use 10s, because I want the strings. I don't like it when I'll grab one guitar to the other and the string tension feels different. So I'll use 10s on those, because, it's shorter. If I just guitar that I'm just normal, like this here, I'm just putting the straight 9s on it, because that's fine for what, this is just, like I said, my guitar I have next to my couch. If I'm using, like, we do some songs that are in drop tunings or in lower tunings, so then I'll put, a higher, like maybe I'll go like an 11 through 56 if it's a guitar that's going to be tuned down a whole step and then drop tuned, just so I can try to keep everything feeling remotely the same. But again, that's all personal preference. I mean, I know people that put 11s on their guitar and tune it to standard tuning. Like Stevie Ray Vaughan, he used like gigantic strings. Oh, Manitoba, Canada. Cool. Hi, Charles. All right. So we've taken the strings off. And this is actually a good time too, just to kind of check other stuff too. So like, you can check to make sure the screws on your strap buttons aren't loose. And that's really about it for this guitar. If you had a bolt-on neck, I guess you could check those screws. I mean, I've never seen those come loose before, but this is a neck through body guitar, so it doesn't have that. So the next thing I want to do now is, well, have a drink. All right, so now I'm going to take my cleaner polish. There's 6 million different brands and stuff of this, but I really like the Gibson brand. I don't know what the difference is, but it just works really well. I've never had it leave any kind of a um, like film or anything behind, and it smells good. Um, there's a lot of stuff I've seen, people like, DIY polishes and stuff like that. I don't really know about. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about those. But one thing I do know that you'll want to avoid, and I used to do this when I was a kid, is use furniture polish. So I'd like go and get into my mom's closet, get the Pledge furniture polish, and spray the guitar and wipe it down. It made it slickered and cat crap on linoleum and just shiny, but it was like it never went away. It was always felt greasy, and then after a while it actually started build up on top of it. So you don't want to use anything that's going to leave some kind of a build up. All right, so now I'm just going to take the cleaner and just give it a spray down, and then with the rag, old t-shirt or whatever, I'm going to use this to like clean it off. I don't want to use that microfiber one because I want to keep, I try to keep it nice for the end. This is just basically to wipe off all the grime, which this has quite a bit. Yeah, see, it's not even touching it down in this cutaway. Yeah, so then as far as like what we were talking about with strings, not only are the gauges and everything, but brands. I've tried lots and lots of different brands of strings. I used to, well, I'm not gonna start naming off name brands and uh, uh, ragging on them or anything, dissing them. New set of strings sounds like a new set of strings. It's just some of them sound better in a couple of weeks or a couple of days than other ones do. Some of them get a dead sound pretty dang quick. All right, so I got all that crap out of there. So now I'm going to do the back of the neck, back of the headstock. What brands of strings do you guys like? What brand of strings do you like, and what gauge of strings do you use? Thing that's nice about this Gibson stuff too is that you can really use it on anything. You can clean all the metal parts and everything with it. It's good stuff. So I'm getting the tuners, getting them all cleaned off, getting in between them and everything. All right. So now switch to the front side. So I'm going to start with the headstock. Get in between the tuners. All right, that's looking all right. Now I'm going to get the front of the body here. Now here between the pickups, I mean, it really, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that or not, but I mean, there's like an inch of dust on there. So I'm going to spray that down. Start wiping this. Yeah, I really like, ooh, well, that's filthy up there. Dean Markley or Ernie Ball 9 through 42. I have never tried Dean Markley's strings. So I'm not really, man, it is disgusting right there. Yeah, I've never tried the Dean Markleys. I've tried the Ernie Balls, and they seem to be pretty good strings. But I've just kind of, for like the last probably 10 years, I've been playing, give or take a year or two. I've been playing Diodario. Oh, this edge is pretty gross too. I for my business, I also do repairs and setups and stuff. And a few years ago, I got contacted by a guy that he said that he had I can't remember what year it was, but it was like early 70s Les Paul that he said that he bought brand new, that he's owned it, since it was brand new, and that he wanted a setup on it. Well, he said that he was disabled and that he couldn't really get around, and he wanted to know if I could just stop at his place and pick it up. So I did. I went over, and the guy was really weird. Anyhow, I get this guitar, and it is by far the most filthy, disgusting guitar that I have ever seen. The buildup on the fretboard was so bad that the guitar almost felt like it was fretless when you would play it. It was really, really gross. Let's see. I want to get a little down on this side too. The space between the pickup and the bridge always gets really, really bad. Ernie Ball, Super Slinkies. Yeah, a lot of people really seem to like the Ernie Ball. I don't know if I have ever... Or no, wait a minute. I actually have Ernie Balls on... I think my telly has Ernie Balls on it. I think a student gave me a pack of them. But that's the only... But I hardly ever touch that guitar, so I don't really have a good... opinion about Ernie Ball. But I mean, God, like everybody uses them, they must be good. Normally it doesn't take this long to get it clean, but man, I've neglected this thing. All right, good enough. So I'm not going to polish it yet. I'm going to wait till after we put the strings on and everything, so that way it's kind of the last thing, because I'm just going to get it all covered in fingerprints prior to that. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to clean the fingerboard. So I'm going to use this to clean the same stuff to clean the fingerboard. Now, typically, you can just take, your rag and just kind of scrub in between the frets. Now, if the guitar is really bad, if it's like really dirty, you can visibly see crap on there, or you can feel it. This cleaner typically isn't going to cut it. Like that guitar that I was just telling you about that I repaired, that I cleaned for that guy. It took me probably 2 hours to get the fingerboard clean. I mean, it was so... I can't even get over how gross this thing was. I wished I would have taken pictures of it. But anyway, if it's like really, really dirty, one of the things that you can do, yeah, see, look at that crap that's coming off of there. One of the things that you can do, this is actually dirtier than I thought it was going to be, is get a little rubbing alcohol, get some rubbing alcohol and Q-tip. And then use the Q-tip so that way you can kind of scrub and really get the crap off of there. Now, if you are cleaning it and you're using alcohol, you're really, because because it's really gross, then you definitely are going to have to treat the fingerboard. So I wasn't going to do that, but I think we'll go ahead and do it because this, like I said, this is much dirtier than I thought. It's not to the point where I need to use the rubbing alcohol, but it's getting close. Jersey Red. Hey man, what's going on? Yeah, this is like considerably dirtier than I was expecting it to be. Maybe this won't be my living room guitar after this. This is really it's going to be all nice and clean. Maybe I'll have to bring it down, leave it down here and take something else upstairs to be the living room guitar. Yeah, I mean, look at that. It's bad. Yeah, we're doing a lesson, but we're going over some maintenance and stuff, how to replace your strings and stuff like that. You're late, so you missed we talked about that. Okay. All right, so now that I've got, it's degrimed, I don't know how you can see it, but that, fingerboard looks pretty good. Guitar looks, pretty shiny, other than like the massive scratch that I put in this guitar that I actually covered it up pretty good. I'm not really great at cosmetic repairs, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There was a heavy scratch right there. I had the guitar, I was walking with it on, and I can't remember what I walked next to, and it was sharp, and it metal just put a big gouge in it, like the day that I got the guitar. Okay, so now I'm going to, I'm not sure how these strings are even packaged. Oh, wait a minute. It says, it comes with 3 spare strings. The one on the front says it's a 9. I bet all 3 of them are 9s. All right, so these ones are in, dang, they're in plastic. Really, really. Did I lose a package? Or are they in the other set? Better open this other one, because this one says that it's the 1st and 4th string, and this one's the 2nd and 5th. This is the first time that I've ever done, that I've ever tried DR brand strings. So hopefully the ones that I need are in here. Okay, there's an extra 9. Okay, so 9, 11, 16. Oh, well, that's false advertisement. It says it has extra strings, and there isn't any extra strings in here. Do you think Guitar Center would give me my $3.67 back because it was false advertising? Oh crap! This isn't a whole set of strings, is it? Hold on a second here. Uh-oh. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, here's the other package. I was going to say, man, I'm missing, not only don't have extra ones, I'm missing Gibson Pure Nickels 10 through 46. Never tried Gibson strings either. All right, so this has got the 3rd and the 6th string in here. Boy, this is like really stupid packaging. So far, I am not impressed, but I guess you get what you pay for, right? All right, so put that one aside for right now. All right, so I usually start with the low E and then work my way up when I put these on, when I put strings on. All right, so on the string through body bridge like this, I'm going to come around to the back and I'm just going to feed the string through. And God, if I can get it to, you can see that it's come out there through the correct place. So what can happen sometimes is that you're going through the hole in the back, and then you're going through a hole in the front, and then you're going through the hole in the saddle. And so sometimes it doesn't all line up. So sometimes you kind of have to fish it around. This one I was able to just, stick it right through. Those are good strings, but I just stick with the ball, slinky 9s and 10s. So which are good strings? The DR are good strings. I think DR is the brand that makes those strings that are like neon colored and stuff. But I'm not 100% sure. All I know about those strings is that the one and only set that I ever had of those literally sounded dead after I put them on. They sounded like they'd already been on there for 6 months. Oh, the Gibson nickel. That's a lot of holes. Yes, it is. Okay, so here's the part where I can usually look at a guitar and see, by looking at how the strings are put on the tuners, if it's somebody that's put on a lot of strings or it's somebody that's put on none or very few. So I've got the string all the way pulled through, so the ball end's holding it in. And now I'm going to come up here. Let me try that whole zooming in thing. See how this works. Oh, well, would you look at that? Oh, wrong way. Nice. Okay. So I'm going to come up here, and on this, side of here, there's a little hole. So I'm actually going to come this way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the string just all the way through as far as I can. Now, if you have locking tuners, like these, so when you put the string through, you have to unscrew this, put the string through that hole, and then you tighten it down and it holds it in place. So you can literally just pull the string all the way through like I did here, tighten that up, cut the excess off, and you're good to go. But I personally, even if it's a guitar that has locking tuners, I don't do that. I like to have a little bit of winding on here, and I'll show you why in a second. Okay, so now that I've got the string through there, like I said, I've got it tight. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it back through until it's enough that I can loop the string around the tuner. Like that. Now, one thing that's really important, I hope you can see, is this is where the string's coming out. This string is where I've put the string on, it's under it. You don't want to be on the top side. You want to be under it because you want the string winding from the top down. So now that I've got that loop on there, now I'm going to come back here like this, and I'm going to hold the string so it's got tension on it here. Now I'm going to take my winder, put it on here, and just start winding the string, making sure that it is going under and it's working its way down. Keep the tension. Keep winding. Okay. Try to see how that I've got 3 wraps. I like to have 2 or 3 wraps on there because one, if I'm going to, tune down lower, I've got plenty of string to do that. And you've got that much, it's like really gripping and it will keep the string from slipping. Now, if it's a locking tuner, you don't have to do that. But even with a locking tuner, I still like to have 2 wraps on there because the post on top here is shorter if it's a locking tuner. So you couldn't put this many wraps on there. All right, so I'm not going to tune it up, but I've just got it tight enough that it's going to stay on. Now, I'm not going to cut the excess string off, and I'll explain why here in a sec. All right, so now we need, since these things, God dang it. All right, now this one is the 2nd and the 5th string. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of this packaging whatsoever. Put that 2nd string aside for right now. All right, so this is our 5th string, or A string. So again, same thing, come around here to the back, feed it through. Man, I can't believe that's 2 times in a row that it just went all the way through on its own. Pull it through. We're just going to repeat the same process, except, well, I'll explain. So the same thing again, put the string through there. But this time, instead of trying to do that loop thing, what I'm going to do is I want the strings to all be kind of the same. So the distance from here to here is the same as it is from here to here. They're all equally spaced. So if I take this string, the string I already have on there, and then I put this string, so it's okay, now I'm getting, oh, okay, yeah, here we go. So now what I've done is I've got this string. I don't know how well you're going to be able, if you can see that. You can see that it's that much longer. I've pulled it that much further through than the other one. Now I can do the same thing. I can try to loop this around, or I can just start winding it. But when you go to just start winding it, the string is going to want to slip. It's easier to actually do it the other way. But I'll just take this end, bend it up, put the winder on. Same thing. You want it so it's starting at the top and working its way down. Oh, wait a minute. I did something wrong because that's not. String wasn't pulled all the way through the body. Oh, now I've missed where I need to be. Okay, now we're going down. Wind it on. Same thing. So now again, I've got two or three wraps on there. Now, other thing, make sure that the string is in the notch of the nut. And then down on this end, make sure that it's sitting in the middle of the saddle. Let's see here. Hi there, just arrived. I'm going to replace saddles and change gauge from 10 to 8 on my Shaler Floyd Jackson R1. Step order, relief, intonate, height, any other advice? Well, one, I just have a question. Why are you going to an 8-gauge string? Reason I ask is because the very first guitar strings that I ever bought were 8-gauge strings. They were 8-gauge GHS boomers. And I broke that high E string just continuously. It was like, it was crazy how it just wasn't strong. All right, so now I'm gonna move on to the to our D string. Yeah, this packaging is really not good. So put that string aside for now too. Okay, so we're just going to do the same thing that we did. Come around here to the back. Go through. Man, I'm 3 for 3. Oh. Again, just like the same thing that we did before. That string on. And this whole thing kind of went. We kind of spent more time doing this than I had planned on because I wanted to go over intonation. So I'm going to put this string on. God. I'll finish putting the other strings on when we're done here, but I want to go over a little bit on how to do the intonation. So let me whoa. Okay. So normally you wouldn't intonate the guitar unless all the strings are on there, you know, and all tuned up, but I'm just going to show you how to do it. So, get my, oh, okay, I get it. So you're doing it just to it, you know, for a lighter touch and everything. Yeah. So going from a 10 to an 8, you definitely are going to have to adjust your truss rod. You'll have to loosen it up a little bit, but put all the strings on it first. Get it all tuned up, and then you know, you can back that off a little bit. If it's got a Floyd Rose on it, it's going to be, you know, you're going to have to re-zero it out. I hate Floyd Rose tremolos. I mean, they're fun to play with, but they are a major pain in the ass if you've got to do anything, you know, like that. All right, so I put my tuner on. I've tuned up to E. Tuning up to A. Tuned up to D. Now, if I had all the other strings on there, you know, I'm going to come back because that's already, the E is already flat, the A is already flat. All right. So now I got to try to get to where this is visible in the camera. Probably going to have to zoom back in. Bear with me here. I'm Oops. Probably what y'all wanted to see was to be able to look right up my nose. Oh, wrong way. Okay, I don't know if there's any way I'm going to be able to do this that you're going to be able to see that tuner. Dang it. Okay. We can do it without that. I mean, you just have to take my word for it that it's what I said it was. Nice cat. My cats aren't even in here. Okay, so like I said, normally you'd have the strings on. Oh, and this is another thing too. So after you put on a new set of strings, you want to kind of pre-stretch them out. So I'll put them on, and then I just grasp the string, kind of stretch it, retune it again. Maybe do it again. And then up here behind the nut, just press it down, give it a little bend. Okay, so now all right, I've got the string tuned. So now you check, you're in tune. I guess you can see that the light turned green. And then now I'm going to hit the harmonic at the 12th fret, which is also going to be green. It's also in tune. And then I'm going to fret the 12th fret. Now, you can't see on your end, but that is the intonation. I knew it was off on this guitar. So when I pick that, it's actually showing that it's flat. It's a little bit flat. So what we need to do is that's why the saddles are adjustable to go this way and that way. So what we're going to do is we're flat, so we need to go sharp. So we're going to turn the screw on here. On this one, it's all the way back here. It's a Phillips screw. And we're going to back the screw off so it will push the saddle forward. Now I tune it up again. And don't be surprised if I went the wrong way, because I do that all the time. Or I did it exactly right. See, it's still green there. So what's happened now is that I've set it so, and this is just kind of a general thing. If you really want to do it right, the guitar, you have it in a like kind of a jig that holds it, and you use an analog tuner. But I'm not going to go that deep into it. That's something I'd only do when I initially set the guitar up. But this is just kind of just general, after a while, things just kind of change. I always fill the tuning posts with string on my guitars, regardless if they have a Floyd Rose or fixed bridge, to put more tension across the nut. But that's just me. Fill the tuning. Oh, you mean wind it up so it's just like completely fill? Yeah, you can do that, but the reason that I use less is I also like it to look nice. I don't want it to be like a big mess up there. So 2 or 3 wraps is about all you can fit. And if you have a locking tuner, it's less. It's like on the wound strings, you can only get, like on this guitar here. Yeah, there's two on that low E string on this with the locking tuners, 2 wraps. How many guitars for a band? Do you mean how many guitars do I use for my band? Is that what you mean? I'm not exactly sure what you mean. So anyhow, this process for setting the intonation will be the same on each one of the strings. So now I go here to the A string. Tune it. Yeah, so that one was all right. But when we're talking about, turning that screw down there to move the saddle, you're not moving it a lot. You're just, just a little bit, a millimeter either way, kind of about where it is. Can you sometimes show us how to set up a Stratocaster or a Les Paul from beginning to end? Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of more or less the same. Just depends on the, the difference would be the bridge and then the tuners not being on one side if it was a Les Paul. I have a Strat, but the Strat I have has a Kaler Spider tremolo on it, so it wouldn't be like the same. I don't think I have any guitars that have just like a standard Strat style bridge, but I have Les Pauls, so yeah, we could do this again. We'll probably do it again like with a with an acoustic guitar. Okay, so the other thing that I want to show you that was, like I said earlier, that was optional. So when you cut the strings off, let me zoom back in again. The neck on this guitar, if that's what you're referring to, it's like a C radius. Before I played Spirit guitars, I played Jackson guitars, and this is the closest I've ever found to. It's like if you took the neck off of like a Jackson Dinky, and then you took a Wizard 2 Ibanez neck and you combined them together. It's this neck. It kind of has, for me, that's, everybody's different, but it's not too thin, but it's not fat. It's just really perfect. It really fits me really, really well. Okay, so when you go to cut the excess string off, you want to try to get as close to where it's coming out of the tuner as you possibly can. So I get right up on there and cut it off. Now, usually that's where you would leave it, but I take one extra step and I will show you, I'll explain why. So after you do that, there's still a little nub of the string sticking out right there. I don't know if you can see that. Well, it's sharp. So what I do is I take the needle nose pliers and I just bend it around. Yeah, now it's not there anymore. The reason that I like to get rid of that is because one time, gosh dang it. All right, one time this guitar stand here, normally when I'm teaching a private lesson, I'm not sitting where I am now, I'm actually sitting over there. And I reached across and the guitar that was sitting, this guitar here, had a string sticking off like that, and my arm brushed against it and it cut me from here to here. I mean, it just filleted my arm open, and ever since I've been like really paranoid about that. So I don't recommend that you don't do this. And then it just makes it look, it's just cleaner and, just like a sharper look to it and everything. Let's see. I feel like that I'm forgetting something. I'm sure that I have, but you guys seem to dig this. If this is the kind of thing, if you want more content like this, leave it in the comments. I mean, a couple of you already have and stuff, but yeah, leave it in the comments. Be sure to like the video and everything, because it shows them that I'm doing a good job and that I can keep doing this for you. Yeah, this is a cool guitar. I really dig it. I really like these Spirit guitars. I wish that they still had distribution in the United States. They are super hard to get now. But for earlier, I don't know where it went. Somebody asked like about guitars, how many guitars? I don't know. I had 3 years ago, I had like 40 electric guitars. And then I just started selling off ones that I wasn't using because business wasn't going really good. And then like when COVID hit, it just about killed my business. So I had to sell a lot of them just to kind of keep, the lights on and the rent paid and stuff. And I just kind of kept the ones that I really like. I've got like 18 electric guitars, I guess, and like 4 acoustic guitars. All right, so I think that I covered everything. I was hoping that we could. I mean, I'm already like way over time. I was hoping that we could have like finished the whole thing off and did it all together, but it just took longer than I thought. So maybe what we'll do next time we do this is we'll skip putting on the strings and we'll go right to intonation, or I just won't spend as much time putting the strings on. Sorry, Daniel. It's Darren. I have 5 guitars, an original Kramer, Night Swan, sick. Dave Sabo signature model, sick. Episode Zach Wild model. Never played one of those. I'm not really a big fan of Les Pauls. Hamer, Californian, and a Fender Squier Jim Root signature. Those Jim Root guitars are sick. Cool. That sounds like a pretty sweet arsenal. One of Jew's guitars punctured an eye in the middle of a concert. Can't remember who it was. He had glasses during the whole tour. Not to be cool, just for the injuries. Yeah, that's pretty gnarly. I had a student that had one of those little Fender 3/4 size electric guitars. You see those little mini Strats, and he was just a kid and always screwing around with tuning it. So every week he'd come to his lesson, his guitar was always way out of tune. Well, one day his high E string was tuned up to like F sharp. I mean, it was up there. And when I grabbed the machine head and went to unwind it, I just gave it a unwind and the string broke right there. It flew back. This is before I wore glasses, and it stuck into my right. It missed going into my eyeball by that much, and it actually stuck in my face, and it went through the skin into my eye socket and was stuck in there. So one good thing about wearing glasses now is that I don't have to worry about losing my eye as easily. So I hope that you found that helpful and stuff. Like I said, I keep repeating myself, but it's important. It really does help me to continue to do this. Is if comments, leaving a thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, to Guitar Control's channel. They upload 2 or 3 lessons a week, sometimes by me, sometimes by other people. And I have the live stream, and there's just lots of cool stuff going on. And there's a new thing coming that I can't talk about yet, but it's kind of exciting. Something that I'm going to be doing that for the channel that kind of directly involves you guys. So watch out for that. All right. So before we go, does anybody have any questions or anything about any of this? Sorry that the intonation part was so short at the end, but I hope that you found the rest of it to be helpful. Oh, other thing, when I put the strings on that aren't wound, like the G, B, and E string, I'll do more winding. I'll wind maybe 4 or 5 on there because it will fit. Oh, let me wind the string on. And then one other important thing for putting strings on that I forgot to mention. And it is a very important thing. And it's a mistake that I've made. I've seen tons and tons of people make this mistake. you want, see how the string is coming off of, let me zoom in again, or maybe actually just move this probably faster. See how the string is coming off on this side of the tuner and not this side? You always want it so the string is on the inside. So if it's a guitar that has like a Les Paul style where the headstock, there's two on each side, you see that they're on the inside on these ones and then the inside of these ones. You do not want to put them on the other side. The guitar will not stay in tune. I guarantee you it will not work if you put them on the other side. Because what it is how that works when you turn, when you're turning the tuner, so like here's the tuner, right? The shaft is like a corkscrew. And then there's a gear attached to it. So this is what's called a worm gear. And it turns like the corkscrew, and that's what winds that. Well, it's if you have the string on the other side, the tension of the string is going to be pulling it the wrong way, and it just causes massive problems with tuning. The only time where it ends up looking different from that is when if you have a guitar that the tuners are on the opposite side, like a Jackson, where it's a reverse headstock. But other than that, you always want to make sure that they're on the inside, because that does make a huge, huge difference. All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. Happy New Year, everybody. Let's hope that next year is a better year. We have really kind of gotten hosed on the last couple of years of all this, coronavirus BS and stuff. So let's hope for a better year. And again, thanks for everybody for tuning in. It means a lot to me. And I will be here. I'll be here next week. So again, thanks everybody for coming out. Appreciate it, and hopefully you got something out of this. If you feel like that the intonation part, because it was pretty short, if it just wasn't enough and you really didn't understand, just leave that in the comments, and I read through this stuff, and then we'll see what we can do to address that. But again, thanks everybody for coming out. Appreciate it. I hope you all have a great night. Have a great new year. Be safe out there. And I will see you next week. Have a good one, everybody.